The go live button did not work. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to announce that smooth sack summer is officially upon us. When you're playing in the summer sun, make sure you're groomed from pubes to bum. Thanks to our friends at Manscaped, you can make this season your smoothest yet. The Performance Package 5.0 Ultra is the ultimate bundle to keep your boys downstairs cool while looking hot. Join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with our exclusive offer. Get 20% off and free shipping when you go to manscaped.com and use code Managing Madrid. Summertime and the trimming is easy. Go to manscaped.com, use code Managing Madrid. And as always, we're going to give out the Manscaped Man of the Match award. We're taping this right after France beat Austria 1-0. And we're going to tee it up to Mehedi Hassan, who is here. Mehedi, who is your Manscaped Man of the Match?
Hello, Kiyan. Hello, listeners and viewers. My Manscaped man of the match is N'Golo Kante. Uh, it was refreshing to watch Kante play football at a big stage one more time since he has gone to Saudi Arabia. And a lot of people might have forgotten that how effective he can be in terms of putting out fires in the midfield, which was a huge part of France's game tonight. So my man of the match award goes to N'Golo Kante.
Listeners, if you want to perform like N'Golo Kante, saving clear-cut chances and preventing breakaways to make sure your team gets the win in the Euros, get 20% off and free shipping with the code Managing Madrid at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code Managing Madrid at manscaped.com. It's smooth sack summer, boys. Get on board or get left behind. This episode is also brought to you by the Managing Madrid Podcast World Tour. We've got 2 cities confirmed now, with 2 more coming up soon. So New York, that's happening August 4th. And then Mumbai, on the other side of the earth, is happening actually, I think, next weekend. Siddharth Ramsundar is in Mumbai in collaboration with the Pena in that city. Link to book your spot in Mumbai and New York in the show notes. Hope to see you there. We'd love to meet you in person. And with that being said, let's get to the podcast. France 1, Austria 0. Let's go.
Nice article in the Managing Madrid blog. Wonderful lads that do a great job there. And worth reading about that man there. Karim Benzema needs to rest, and the numbers reveal why.
Times ended up almost looking like a 6-3-1. Some very good writing about that on the Managing Madrid website. First rate podcast as well. Of course, Fede Valverde was a huge part of the equation.
Welcome, everyone, to the Managing Madrid Podcast. We are recording this about 10 minutes after France beat Austria 1-0 in their opening game in the Euros. Kylian Mbappe started. He broke his nose, got a yellow card for it, left the field. Kamavinga came in off the bench. And we're here to break it all down. Mehedi Hassan, who is covering this game for Managing Madrid, is on the podcast right now. Mehedi, I know you're the data visual guru. You're the guy who has all this data that basically, with the snap of your fingers, it is all available. What stood out to you from that aspect? Because I know you gave Kante the man of the match, and I thought Kante was great. But what stood out to you today?
Hey, Kiyan, thanks for having me. France did get their win somehow with a very, very narrow victory. But as you kind of jinxed my data visual powers, because I'm going to need a few more minutes as my data is getting prepared for even to share on the podcast. I'm going to get down to that part soon. But what stood out to me in terms of France's overall game, I would say, is we often see that big teams come out in tournament football and don't play as extravagantly or as lavishly as we expect them to, which is part of their success, I think, too, in terms of the big teams getting these 1-0, 2-1 close wins out of their way. So I think a lot of France's approach was about that. They did struggle in the midfield a lot, but eventually they're one of the favorites of the tournament. They had to get a good start of the tournament, which they did. The Mbappe, breaking his nose and bleeding through his nose was unfortunate, of course. We will obviously talk about Mbappe's game as well. He was one of France's brighter players, I thought. So if I have to give you an overview of the game, I think a lot of France's struggles maybe a bit exaggerated and maybe kind of by design. They probably want to play this way rather than being forced to play this way. We have seen this from France in tournament football previously as well, in the 2018 World Cup, in the 2021 Euros, and in the 2022 World Cup. As the tournament progress, I think their form will be a bit better. They will be a bit more expressive.
We've seen it so many times before where the champion doesn't peak early.
Yeah.
We've seen champions grind out results early. We saw it with Spain in 2010. We saw it with Argentina losing that first game to Saudi a couple years ago. France win today. It's funny because when you talk about big team versus small team, it's not always that straightforward. And I honestly feel that in international tournaments, there is more parity because it's just kind of harder to grind out games sometimes if you're a big team facing a smaller nation. In this particular case, I think it was a little bit of a unique case in that this was an Austria managed by your favorite human being, Ralph Rangnick. I know you just love everyone who basically diss Cristiano Ronaldo in any way at Manchester United, and Rangnick is the top of your hit list. But for better or worse, he has this Austria team playing a different brand of football. This is the team that likes to press a little bit higher up the pitch than maybe their previous iterations. And they won at France without fear. Now, I think it was hard for them to sustain that. And I think France actually had some very good build-up sequences that actually broke their man-to-man high press in the first half. And I thought in the second half, they got a little bit more control. But where they were vulnerable was actually Austria's transition attacks. I think where France are to improve, Mehedi, is that they were committing so many bodies forward, like in minute 80 and on. Even like in minute 98, Austria was breaking. And you look at France, they have like 7 players in the final third. I'm like, guys, don't you think it's just more important to close this out? You guys have great players in transition. But what was it that specifically you think that France could have improved on from today?
Definitely, I think their ball progression from their mid-block to their final third wasn't what you would expect if you have players like Griezmann, especially like just behind the strikers. Griezmann had to do, again, along with Kante at times, he had to do a lot of dirty work. He didn't, he wasn't as involved as you would expect someone of Griezmann's profile to be. France was trying to spray the balls towards, sometimes to Mbappe, sometimes to Thuram, who played on the left a lot when Mbappe would go to the center, and sometimes to Dembele even. So overall, I think that was one of the facets of their game where this struggle was apparent, that not getting enough balls to the final third efficiently. Now, Kiyan, I have my data ready now. If you go to the Real Deal Pods account on Twitter and share the screen for our viewers, I think we can see it real time what I mean by their struggles to get the ball in the final third.
All right, we're bringing it up. Real Deal Pods on Twitter. Make sure you follow them if you haven't already. So
yeah, the first one. So this is basically in terms of the expected threat. The game was pretty even, as you can see. Expected threat and field tilt, both teams going at each other, or conversely, you can think both teams not going at each other even. So, anyways, France got that goal through own goal through Mbappe's brilliant run. Then, if you can keep going down. This is basically the defensive. These two teams were like miraculously similar in terms of their PPDA and also the average height of their defensive unit, their defensive actions. If you can keep going down. In the passing, as we were talking about N'Golo Kante, so France was a bit more structured than Austria than it seemed, but Kante was very much at the heart of it and putting out fires left and right, and also being a source of calmness even at times, because Kante is very press resistant, and it was really great to see that he hasn't lost any of it. We obviously don't follow what happens in Saudi Arabia, but it was almost like Chelsea Kante today, and that's why I gave him the Man of the Match award. If we go down, so here's what I was talking about. You see France's top 3 pass clusters on the top right on the screen. So none of this is in the, even in their attacking half, or let alone their attacking third. Usually, if you are seeing this kind of a chart for a Real Madrid game, you'll see that all three top clusters are probably on the left hand side where Vinicius, Jude, they operate. So they had bodies like Thuram, even Theo Hernandez going up and down, Mbappe there, but they had their struggles to get the ball up efficiently and quickly at times. I was seeing some of France's sequences, and I was wondering that if they had someone like Toni Kroos, they would be like an unstoppable team, because they can stretch the squad, stretch the pitch with Dembele really well, but they don't have that Toni Kroos diagonal pass man in their squad. Well, when Tchouaméni comes back, probably they do better in that aspect, but I don't know if Deschamps is like that guy. I don't know if he will bench either Kante or Rabiot for Tchouaméni at this point. So we're gonna have to see that. And even in terms of the carries, you see that France were not as efficient. Their best player in terms of passing was William Saliba, kind of expected as a ball playing center half. Saliba was also one of their top players in terms of carries. Theo Hernandez created the most expected threat in this game. In the carries, you can see Kante in the top 4 in terms of the players with the most carries, and Kante is also in the top 6 for players with the most passes. So yeah, he had a great game, and Kante also in top 5 for most defensive actions. So overall, he was very efficient for France.
So the Tchouaméni point is interesting. I mean, I assume that he'll come back, and I think the only reason he wasn't starting today was because he hadn't fully. I mean, he's not match fit, right? Like he's missed the Champions League final. He's been out for a long time. I know he's back theoretically, but maybe they just didn't want to throw him in such an intense game as his first game back. Now, the funny thing is, I don't know when no matter when you throw him in at the Euros, it's going to be an intense game with your first game back.
Yeah.
That's why I was a little bit surprised he didn't get off the bench today. So the 4 France subs, Camavinga, Giroud, Kolomuani, Youssouf Fofana. I think with France and with regards to the ball progression, I thought Rabiot had a couple nice passes over the top, but it's true. Like, none of those guys, I mean, no one is going to be Kroos in that situation, but you could use someone who can progress the ball a little bit better. Griezmann, for as great as he is often the guy who actually slows the play down instead of going vertical. Like, he is the kind of guy who could see a passing lane open up for him, and instead of hitting the pass, he'll just kind of roll it backwards, slow it down, and pass it backwards. And so I don't know if he's the guy either. Whereas when you look at Mbappe, he's dropping deep a lot in this game, actually. And I know that one of the talking points was before the game started was that he's deployed as a central forward. And of course, that's not actually the position he's going to play. I mean, he's going to pop up there at times, but he's also going to be drifting out the left a lot. But he also dropped deep for a lot of link-up play. But you're right, they don't really have that kind of profile in the lineup, the starting 11 anyway, who can play those vertical passes at a high rate. But I guess they don't necessarily need to break teams down like that. They have other ways to do it. I thought it's funny when you mentioned France's build-up sequences and how they struggle with that. I actually thought it was Austria who had the more impressive sequences.
Yeah.
And they had a couple in the first half in particular, which they didn't capitalize on. And it's funny because you look at the XG, and we say all this, and France had an XG of 2. And I think there were moments where you felt like they could have put this game to bed and they shouldn't have, sweated it out. I would have bet my entire life savings, my house, my family, my kids on Mbappe scoring that breakaway, Mehedi, and he didn't.
Yeah.
And they had other good chances. Giroud had one late where he just completely fluffed it. It was point blank. And I think it was the Kolomuani cut back, and he just scuffs it completely. Having said all that, just before Mbappe scores, or own goal, I guess, which Mbappe forced through his own brilliance by cooking Muene on the wing and then forcing the own goal. Just before that, Baumgartner, that's a tough one. Baumgartner has that chance, which Mike Maignan saves point blank.
Yeah.
and that could have been really different. And for whatever reason, Mehdi, it wasn't a corner kick. The referee just signaled a goal kick, so France just got the ball back and then eventually scored. But that was one, and they had a couple sequences where they just broke down France really well with some beautiful pass and move sequences to get in behind Kante, to get in behind the wing backs and create a great chance. But that those are the margins at this level, so it is what it is.
Yeah, and regarding Mbappe's game, he worked hard. I would say uh, he was in positions for, I think, all three sides of the attacking third, basically left wing, right wing, and center. The goal basically came from the right wing, and for a moment, I like put my Madridista hat on, and I imagined that, yeah, we will see a lot of this next season. And by a lot of this, I don't mean like a lot of own goals from the opponent defenders, but this is what's going to happen. Like a player of Mbappe's quality or class, he is not going to be a center forward, a left winger, or a right winger, especially in the realm of Carlo Ancelotti. He will have that freedom to roam around and influence the game from wherever he thinks is best.
You, it's kind of this situation for me, Mehdi, where I'm looking at France and I would like to see a glimpse of what it would look like next year, but France don't really have the same, I don't know, like they don't have a Vinicius, like they don't have like the left side dominant player that you'd like be interested in, like how is this going to work? I mean, Dembele plays very symmetrical. He's on the right side mostly. The closest thing, and I wish we got to see more of it, but we didn't. That brief period where Mbappe and Benzema played together in the Nations League, and it looked magical. They're both on the left side, they're linking up, and they both like look absolutely devastating. And that was it. And it was a very short-lived experience. And of course, Benzema after that was basically cast away from the national team for political reasons during the World Cup, and we just didn't get to see more of it. But I'm keeping an eye on that one. But and were there any other notes on Mbappe that you had today? I mean, I thought he was really good.
Nothing out of the ordinary except that that near post chance that was saved
Early.
was saved early. That's kind of like his trademark. So I also expected him to score from there, but it's fine. The refereeing point of view that you mentioned is also interesting because it was Jesus El Manzano. It's probably the least it's the least controversial decision of his entire life. He has committed far graver crimes on a football pitch. So
to me, that yellow card was basically like him sending a message like, "Hey, this is just a little taste, Kiyan, of what I'm going to torture you with next year."
By the way, this whole thing regarding only captains being allowed to talk with referees, I think that's just BS. That's never going to work on a football pitch. It's being tested out like as a pilot project at the Euros, and I don't think even it's working right now because I literally saw Griezmann and Mbappe both talking with the referee, and I think the official word is that only the captain can talk with him. But I'm seeing like all players are talking with the referee all the time, so I don't think this is gonna stick. And I saw a report today that La Liga is also trying to implement that only the captain will be able to speak with the referee from next season. But I don't think it just works.
So what do they want? So basically, anyone who's not a captain is going to get a yellow card. Like, how are they going to enforce that?
That's the enforcement.
And what constitutes talking to the referee? Like, if you're just running and you say something, is that you're not allowed to say anything?
I mean, like Vinicius talks with the referee a lot. Probably none of that. That every time a foul is getting committed, you're saying that he should get a yellow card. Any kind of gesture like that, probably. But if it's implemented, I think it's a nice thing, and it probably saves a bit of time in the game. But I think something like this is very, very difficult, and it's at the discretion of the referee. He can just choose to show a yellow card to someone that talked to him, and then choose to show a yellow card to someone that he wants to show a yellow card to. So it's going to be difficult implementing this, I think.
Just going back to Mbappe for a second, I mean, it was pretty clear like he can do things no one else can do, obviously, with his dribbling. I don't think this was the best Mbappe game or anything like that, but I thought he was good. And one of the things I noted that didn't result into a goal was just that there was this one sequence where I thought really encapsulated how well he can create something out of nothing. And it was in the 62nd minute. France are breaking in transition, and Mbappe plays the ball out wide to Dembele, and he's in his own half when he plays that pass. He passes the ball out wide to Dembele on the wing, and then sprints into the box. And there were multiple times when Dembele could have passed it back to him, but didn't, but waited until it was too late. And eventually, when Mbappe got the ball, like it was just a bad pass to him. But those are the things I'm excited for. Like he can, the team has the ball in their own half deep, and literally 3 seconds later, it can be in a goal scoring opportunity. And those are the things that Mbappe can bring that I'm really excited for, especially knowing that Carlo will play in transition a lot. That will be fun to see. Okay, we do have some super chats, but before we do that, I thought we could talk about Camavinga's cameo.
Yeah.
What did you think of his performance off the bench?
I was mad at him that he didn't pass it to Mbappe and passed it to Thuram. He did create a chance on the bench. Like he was kind of like suddenly found himself in position on the left wing, and he could like put it back. Mbappe was probably like, in fairness to him, Mbappe was further away from him, and Thuram was making a run closest to him, so he laid the ball back to Thuram. Outside of that, there was not really something specific I remember truly that Camavinga did. And the problem is, I think Deschamps, he doesn't really see Camavinga as that midfield presence. He almost sees him as a pseudo left wing back or a left midfielder sometimes, left back sometimes. So we may not see our version of Camavinga at all in the minutes that he will get in this tournament. Going back to the original Tchouaméni point, Kiyan, quickly, that we started the podcast with, I think Tchouaméni's best case scenario is, what's France's next game? I think the next game is against Netherlands, right?
Sounds right. Yeah.
So, I don't think Deschamps really changes his starting 11 from tonight's game and that game, because that's the big one in this group. Winner takes all, basically wins the group. So he sticks with this, but if they get a win in that one, I think against Poland, we might see Tchouaméni even starting and kind of a second string France side. And if he can impress really well in that game, then we can see him regularly in the knockouts. The thing about tournament football is, once a team gets comfortable with one starting 11, no matter what profile is sitting out, they are usually a bit hesitant to break that combination. I know that Tchouaméni was a starter for France, and it's unfortunate that he's not a starter right now because of his injury, nothing else. So, I think that's the best case scenario for Tchouaméni. If France beat Netherlands, then play a second string side against Poland, and they just blow Poland out. Tchouaméni is really great. Then Deschamps may rethink his starting 11 or his Gala 11.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. It's a good point about the Netherlands being a big, obviously, matchup for them to decide who would, get a hold of this group as the top seed. I don't know if this is necessarily France's best 11. To be honest speaking, like I don't think they were that great tonight. I mean, they obviously did enough to win, and Austria caused them some problems. So I don't know. I think Tchouaméni actually does shore up some things defensively and does provide that progressive passing that we spoke about earlier. Back to Camavinga. It wasn't like he wasn't on the field that long, because Deschamps actually waited quite a bit to make his first sub. Like he stuck with that starting 11 up until now I closed the tab like an idiot, but it was late. It wasn't. He didn't make his first sub for a while, and so Camavinga, I thought, covered a lot of ground, and he actually had two very important defensive interventions. One was in the 94th minute, where he won the ball in midfield. In the 99th minute, he actually had a big interception. This goes back to your point about how, Deschamps sees him as someone who can cover for the fullback. That was deep on the left wing where Austria broke, and they played a pass in transition, and he covered deep on the left side and made that interception. So those are two plays that stuck up to me. You also mentioned that he passed to Thuram. Thuram had a couple weird ones in this game. He had that one where he had 5,000 stepovers and then just shot it into the sky. I thought that was a little bit excess and a little bit extra that was not needed. He got a little bit too excited in that moment.
Yeah.
Back to Kante.
Yeah.
We're all over the place now. I miss seeing him play. I don't watch Saudi League. I feel like everyone that went there just became irrelevant apart from Cristiano. Cristiano was the only guy who maintained relevancy after going there because he literally dominated the league. No one else, appeared on my timeline, put it that way.
Yeah.
Another sad one, like just too good of a player, clearly. Like he's still very good. We all saw that today.
Yeah.
Super chats, Mehedi.
Let's get them.
Real Madrid, 15 UCLs, says, so far Germany looks like the favorites. Home tax. What do you think? I mean, they look great.
They look great, but yeah, we didn't really get a chance to. I think this is the first time you and I are speaking after the Euro started. So one of my thoughts about Germany was that they do look great, but I want to see them against a side better than Scotland because they were not challenged in the mid block at all. Germany are great because they have two great wingers in Wirtz and Musiala who can play outside and inside. They have Kroos, they have Gundogan to control the midfield. So they can kind of hide some of the deficiencies, some of the weaker profiles like Havertz or Folkier, who will finish on and off, but they will probably not be as engaged as the names that I just mentioned. So this is something that I would like to see against a stronger side, how they fare. Because we've seen this from Germany before as well. They make really great starts in tournaments and then suddenly crash out. They did that against Italy, I think, a couple of times. So a great start from Germany. So far, they have impressed the most, I would say, among the favorites. And I think only Portugal is left in terms of the big teams who haven't yet played. So the big teams that have played so far, Germany have looked the best so far. But yeah, again, would like to see them against a better side.
They look great, but as we said earlier in the podcast, it's a marathon. We've seen so many teams a team peak too early. The first game really doesn't say anything to us, really. There's still a lot of football left, but they look great, and on paper they look great, and I like them under Nagelsmann so far. Diamond Head Home Inspections says, just rest Mbappe for the rest of the Euros and have him come to Madrid healthy and ready to go. Let that nose heal. Well, I think he's just going to suit up in a mask, probably.
Yeah, dark Mbappe, Mbappe Batman hour is here.
Well, it's Ninja Turtle official. I think just for look, it would be a missed opportunity if he didn't come out with a Ninja Turtle mask.
Well, Real Madrid should, in his unveiling, they should have like a giant Ninja Turtle tifo or something.
They should just during the presentation, Emilio Butragueño comes up behind him and just ties a red mask around him and dons him. Michelangelo. No, Raphael. Which one is the red one?
I forgot their names.
I think it's Raphael. Yes, Raphael is the red one.
Just quickly going back to Saudi, one thing they do is they do player unveilings the way no team or no country can do. Do you know what they did for Benzema's unveiling?
No idea.
So they did you would think this is the closing ceremony of a World Cup or something. It was that extravagant. And on top of that, they got a giant, a mountain-sized hand with Benzema's tape on it, golden tape on it. And also, if I remember correctly, a giant Ballon d'Or. Because Benzema was the reigning Ballon d'Or at that time. So they did that right. So yeah, Real Madrid get a giant inflatable Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
At some point, they have to play on this a little bit. They have to roll with it. We got a decent better than decent. We got a really good social media manager. I have confidence.
Well, they haven't shared the turtle emoji even just once during his unveiling. That was kind of disappointing. I thought like the first, even before the comunicado, would be just a turtle emoji.
Shout out to the not many people know this, but Real Madrid's actual social media admin is actually a former Managing Madrid staff member. So
Oh wow.
yeah,
Great.
yeah, we'll send him a message. We're good friends still.
Yeah.
So where are we at? Ed, oh, by the way, back to this one. I've seen a lot of people say, like, just rest these players. I'm totally of the opposite mind frame. I want all Real Madrid players to go as far as possible and dominate as much as possible. I want them to be successful in their international tournaments and get on the Ballon d'Or podium. I'm going the opposite way. Just wanted to make my stance clear. Ed Sylvester says, Mbappe tracked back to cover Hernandez. Good to see.
Yeah, that was probably a one-off. He's not going to track back and cover for Ferland Mendy or Tchouaméni at Real Madrid. Because this is mentioned by Ed, there was also a sequence like everybody in the France team, like all 9 outfield players are like giving their last shot to clear the ball. Like that was like during a really great Austria sequence, and Mbappe is like at the center circle standing for the long ball. So that's going to be the more normal thing. And I think it's fine. If you have profiles like Mbappe, Ronaldo didn't defend as much as Vinicius does. Messi didn't defend as much as some of the other players do for Barcelona. So when you have that player who can give you 30, 40, 50 goals a year, you keep him closest to goal as much as possible, probably.
This is, I think, the point that some people miss is that it's not necessarily laziness.
Yeah.
It's by design. Like if I have a player who's devastating in transition and can act as an outlet, I don't want him dropping deep. I want him to be in a position to receive the ball so he can cook a high line. Like that's where I want.
Yeah.
Last one. Real Madrid 15 UCLs is back to say, rumor, Theo Hernandez looking for a summer move. So, you and I both love Alphonso Davies. If we could, I think Theo is the better player.
Theo was the better player, or like, are we comparing current Davies or current Theo Hernandez?
I'm saying based on the last couple years, Theo's been better.
Last couple of years, probably, but then again, I think they've been pretty similar, I would say.
I think neither of them are great defensively.
Yeah.
And I think Theo's offensive ceiling is a little bit higher.
I see. I would say, yeah, the last couple of years I've heard Davis's reputation a bit, but yeah, physically, I think Davis is he can be a bit more explosive. Theo is a bit more tactical, even in the final third. He used to be very explosive in his early days in Milan too. He used to be very explosive, but I think now he's one of the Milan captains as well. Is he really looking for a summer move? Well, even if he is, I think at first we have to see if Ferland Mendy is looking for a summer move. If not, then it doesn't matter if Theo Hernandez or Davis is, because I think if Mendy is staying, then he's staying, and Ancelotti likes it that way. So that's that.
I don't want to lose Mendy. I just want to say that.
Yeah.
The Theo Hernandez thing, I don't know if he actually wants to move or not. I saw this floating somewhere, but I have no idea.
And he loves Real Madrid, by the way. Every time we win a Champions League, he uploads a photo of himself with the 2018 Champions League that he won with Real Madrid.
Yeah.
So he loves Real Madrid.
Well, that's the other thing is he has that link to us. He has, he's a former player who was always promising. We signed him when he was very promising. Didn't play that well for us. His loan stints to Real Sociedad, I guess it was just Real Sociedad at the time, did not go well. He did not look good in his loan stints, and we moved on from him, but he vastly improved since then. So yeah, his contract is up in 2026. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. This is just a hypothetical. It's nothing beyond that, I don't think. Speaking of Davies, Thursday, Argentina, Canada, Copa America.
You're asking like which side am I on?
I know that you love Argentina. I just want you to be ready for Canada to just cook them.
So
I think-
do you know about that meme what Shawn Michaels tells Ric Flair I love you and then kicks him in the face? So that's me on Thursday. Alphonso Davies, I love you, fellow Canadian. But yeah,
That
and
Canada,
he's gonna be playing on. Well, Messi doesn't really play right wing anymore, but he comes from the right wing a lot, so he's probably gonna be playing on Di Maria's side. Yeah, that's gonna be a good duel, Di Maria versus Alphonso Davies.
that Canada versus France game. I mean, I thought they looked pretty good up until France started to bring on all their best players, but even then they defended well. Like the couple of things that stood out to me was that Kone looked really good in midfield, and Miller also didn't look bad in transition too. Has some nice passes, hit the crossbar, and Davies played well.
So was Jesse Marsh already in charge for this game
Oh yeah,
against France?
Oh,
Okay, yeah.
yeah. That
So
was that was his second game in charge.
Oh,
He was with the
yeah,
Netherlands. The Netherlands game, he was in charge too.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
good. Just a quick shout out to former Madridista Di Maria, because I haven't really kept track of him how he was doing since the World Cup, but it's fascinating that how good he still is. Obviously, he doesn't play for a full 90 minutes anymore, but however much he plays for, he hasn't lost that spice. He's still so good.
Former Madridista, meaning like he's not just a former Real Madrid player. He's a former Madridista, literally. Like he just doesn't like us since he left.
Oh yes, true. He is literally a former Madridista.
Nishlish Patel, our YouTube member, sending us a super chat to clarify. Red, Raphael. Blue, Leonardo. Orange, Michelangelo. Purple, Donatello. Kylian Mbappe is called Donatello, so the purple one, which also happens to match Real Madrid's trim. Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't know they gave him a specific one. I thought it was just any of them.
I think probably they gave him a specific one because of Real Madrid's connection with purple.
Oh, okay. This is news to me. I didn't know that. Okay. Donatello is probably the best one anyway.
Yeah.
I think he's also the smartest one of the four. I mean, he's got a stick. Like he's beating up bad guys with a stick. The other ones have like actual, like real real weapons like nunchucks and those things, those spears. And Leonardo has swords. Like Donatello's doing it with a stick, so he's probably the best. Like from a work ethic standpoint, like I think he's probably working the hardest as well to like beat up people with a stick. All right. This is a great way to end the podcast. So we're going to wrap it here, 37 minutes in. And also just want to remind guys, if you're coming to New York or Mumbai, please book your tickets to the show ASAP. We need to know numbers for logistics. And in the Mumbai case in particular, that's coming up real close. So the link to book your spot to Mumbai and New York is in the show notes. Keep it locked on managingmadrid.com for a ton of written content on Real Madrid's players in the Euros. And thanks for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow. What's tomorrow? Turkey post game. Arda Güler. Save the best for last. All right. Thanks, Mehedi. See you soon. Take care, guys. Peace out.